Questioner asks, I'm curious on your input. I've meditated on and off for a couple years now, and after a few minutes of mindful deep breathing, I always seem to transition into a complete stillness where my breath is slowed and quiet. I hardly feel like I'm in my own body, and the thoughts change from the pop-up day-to-day thoughts into what feels like I'm receiving knowledge from perhaps my higher consciousness or source. It feels like I'm floating in the vastness of my mind / the universe, receiving answers to questions I've been pondering or powerful downloads. And I always wonder, is that state of mind what we're aiming for when meditating? Or am I still missing the point of meditating because I lose focus on my present breath and tend to go into a different realm? I appreciate your content and education. So this questioner, when they sit down to meditate, they find within a few minutes they enter this trance-like state where they're aware that they're not moving, they're aware that they're kind of locked in complete stillness, but it seems like they're having some sort of communion, some sort of conversation, some sort of information is being passed to them, to their body there, as they're sitting still. So with mindfulness meditation, I'll just say plainly, yes, you're missing the point. If you're trying to do mindfulness meditation, which is following the breath, you return to the breath when you notice a thought. Instead of being carried off into the thought, whatever it is, you return to the breath. So that's mindfulness meditation. But I will say, you're not doing anything wrong. You're for sure not doing anything wrong. There's not a single thing wrong with you sitting down and having these conversations with your higher self or whatever deity or whatever populates for you. Some people it's going to be different things. Some people it's going to be their God, their version of their higher selves. I mean, I hear all sorts of people talk about, Archangel Michael came and visited me and I had a conversation and he told me to do this and blah, blah, blah. And that's not my experience, but I think it'd be foolish of me to assume that that's not actually happening just because it doesn't happen to me. I seem to hear it all the time. And I don't think it seems like these are net good experiences, right? I don't think that anybody, after having some sort of communication in their meditation, in their relationship with their self, in the observation of their own mind, if they come out of that with what seems like answers, if they come out of that feeling better, if they come out of that with what seems like new knowledge and they can take actionable steps to make their life, closer to the direction that they want to make it, then that sounds awesome. I think that's great. I think that's really good. But I just had a conversation with a friend just like an hour ago about this. And I think there is something to be said about being strict about your meditation practice. I think that if you are sitting down and you're getting to stillness and you're getting to this trance-like state and you're communicating with, whatever your deity or God or source or higher self or whatever it is, I think that's so cool. And you should totally keep doing that if that is net good for you. But you should also have a more strict version of your practice. So mindfulness meditation is the act of taking your seat, placing your attention, placing your focus just on your breath, breathing in and out. It's always happening. You're not doing it. It's just going on. You're just becoming aware of that. Anytime any other thought comes up, you just return to the breath. In that sentence right there, any thought comes up, you just return to the breath. That's kind of the ticket right there. That's kind of like if I'm teaching you as a mindfulness teacher, that's what I would say. I would say, all that other stuff sounds really awesome, but you're here to practice mindfulness meditation. So just label that as a thought and return to the breath. I myself, I write a lot of poetry. I write a lot of music, write a lot of rap. I write a lot. I'm someone who thinks I have a genius idea all the time. And sure enough, when I sit down to meditate, when I set my timer for 20 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever it is, I'm going to sit down and designated this time. I committed to it. Inevitably, within 5 minutes, I'm going to have the best idea I've ever had. I have this problem that I've been working on in the background is suddenly solved, and there's the answer. All I had to do was sit quiet for a few minutes. And now I'm sitting here like, okay, that is the answer. That's such a good idea. That's the best idea. Should I lean forward and grab my pen and pad and write that down really quick so I don't forget it? I should reach over and grab my phone and just jot this note down really quick. Thing that happens being human is we get carried away with these things, with these ideas, with these thoughts. And there's a way in which you can treat even the thoughts of a communion with your higher self. Even, dare I say it, Because if God was really speaking to me inside my head and I really thought that it was this other thing other than I, and like I feel like I should be listening to that. But if I'm following the rules of the practice, mindfulness meditation practice, that's just a thought. I label it as thinking, and I return to the practice of following the breath. I'll tell you the advantages of this. I think you should have both. I think if you sit down and you have communion with your higher self, and that is, it feels good, you feel fulfilled, you're learning from it, please keep doing it. I think that's great. But you should also have, I would say a 20-minute if you can make it happen, but some period of time where you set aside and you are strict. You're strict and you're firm. You're gentle, but you're firm. And you commit to just following the breath. Mindfulness meditation, you place your attention on the breath, and when any thought comes up, you go, thinking, or there I was lost in thought. That's thinking. Return back to the breath. So here's why. As much as these kind of ethereal realms, as much as this, we know how it is, we can go really deep into our worlds of spirituality. We could read books, we can listen to podcasts, we can listen to other people's experiences. People could have profound, experiences on ayahuasca or DMT. They could have ego deaths, they could have near-death experiences. All these things are vastly important. They're really happening. They're people's firsthand experience. And I would never come on here as a teacher and say, those things aren't actually happening, return to your breath. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, on top of you experiencing those, find what feels right for you personally. If you're experiencing those things and you're having conversations with beings higher than you, bigger than you, larger than you, more than you, even you in the future, whatever it is, have those communions, but also have strict mindfulness meditation practice. The example I was giving when I was talking to my friend about an hour ago was, Archangel Michael isn't going to help you pay your bills. If the Buddha is coming to you in your meditations and you're saying like this figure and it's the Buddha and he's telling you like these secrets to life and he's telling you these things about yourself and he's telling you to love yourself and all these things, that's great. But unless you can conjure him up at will and he solves real problems for you, when you're at work and it's been a busy day and you get a call from daycare and it's like, hey, your kid just bit somebody again, you got to come pick him up right now. What you need in that moment is mindfulness. What you need in that moment is the ability to feel the real emotions you're feeling, to be in alignment and in conversation with what you really want out of life. So you can check in. Your immediate response might be anger. You might be upset. You might be annoyed at school. You might be annoyed at your kid. You might be a whole string of stress because now you have to leave your work early and your boss is already mad at you and blah, blah, blah. This is real stuff. How does meditation help you with that? Meditation, mindfulness meditation specifically, helps you see what's really going on in each moment. So as we're following our breath in and out, it's always happening, and thoughts come up. We get carried away into thoughts. We think that's true. And then suddenly we remember, oh yeah, I'm meditating. I'm doing mindfulness meditation. Let's return to the breath. And then suddenly that thing that was super important, that task, that instance, that moment that begged for your attention and thought it was the most important thing, within just a few seconds, a few minutes, you realize, oh, that thing, it's not that important. I just let it go. So it helps us tune in to what we really want out of life, what we really want out of life in that moment. I mean, our kid's biting again. We got to go pick them up. They got in trouble. What are you going to do? Are you going to call Archangel Michael? Are you going to call the Buddha? Hey, what do I do? It's not about trying to get ultimately calm so you can handle situations from a calm point. It's about seeing what's really going on and acting nonetheless. So it's being aware that when you get a call like that, you're at work, you get a call from daycare, you gotta come pick up your kid, he's biting, you're gonna feel upset, you're gonna feel angered, you're gonna feel rushed, you're gonna feel stressed. I mean, all the flashing of the bills that got to be paid, and the promotion you're working towards, and the deadlines that you have due, and the what about, do I got to find a new daycare? All these things, these real life things that need solved and tended to. What are you doing in your spiritual practice that is legitimately benefiting those real things? As much as we sit in meditation and it feels really good to be in communion with our higher self, it feels really good to be in communion with good feelings, with a good mantra. For me, I like listening to a meditation that's just like positive stuff. Sometimes I can get in my own head and I'll just turn on a meditation that's just like, you are healthy, you are wealthy, you are wise, you are strong, like all these good positive affirmations. But how helpful is that when I'm not actually feeling those things, when I don't really have access to the fact that, like, you know what, I'm pretty strong. I'm a good person. I'm a good guy. I'm courageous. I'm confident. When you don't really have access to all those things, because real life comes at us just a phone call away. You don't have time to pause the person on the phone and go, hold on, let me talk. Let me call in Archangel Michael. Let me call in all my positive affirmations. Let me remember I'm strong, I'm healthy. Okay, I can deal with this. All right. I'm on my way, It's really a matter of connecting with why you're really doing any of this. Why are you attempting to develop a relationship with your higher self or yourself at all? Why are you starting a dialogue internally? What are you trying to accomplish here? Are you trying to make what's really happening different than it actually is? When the hardships and the reality of just living, just being a person, come knocking on your door, what tools do you have? Are you just gonna take what you learned as you were a kid? When you were a small child, looking up at the adults, mimicking what they do, seeing how the people around you react to certain stimuli, and the way they react is the way that you react because that's what you learned? Or are you going to notice when you're reacting and it doesn't actually map out and match up to the way that you wanted to be reacting to your goals? Oh, dang, I yelled at that person. That doesn't really match. I want to work with that person in the future. I want to be friends with this person. Why am I yelling at them? Oh, that's what I learned when I was younger. Oh, my default way of responding to difficult happenstance is this. That's interesting. There's a way you can even notice that that's happening, but it requires mindfulness. Even that initial, before you even decide to make a different choice than your default, you have to notice that it's even happening and notice that it's not matching up. Oh man, when I jam this puzzle piece into this big puzzle, it doesn't actually create the picture I want it to. I should deal with that. I should find a way to accept what's really happening. Oh geez, I'm angry. Oh, my voice is raised. I'm sweating. My heart rate is very fast right now. I'm angry. I can feel it in the pit of my stomach. It just took me a second to just become aware of all that. Okay, now what? Do I want to make a different motion? Or do I want to carry on with the momentum of acting out my feelings and emotions, even if they don't correlate to how I want to live my life, to the goals that I want to obtain? So the reason why, when you sit down to meditate and you begin within a few moments, you begin to have conversations with Source, you begin to get downloads, you begin to have communion, have conversation, have communication with something other than you, something higher than yourself, something that when they say things to you, it sounds right. It sounds like a remembering. It doesn't always sound like new information, right? It's kind of this intuitive version of yourself, however that shows up. You notice it carries you away from the present moment. You're sitting here in your living room, in your yard, in your whatever it is. You're actually here. You're hearing what you're hearing. You're smelling and tasting what you're smelling and tasting. You're seeing what you're seeing. And then this thing in your mind, it's not out here, it's not physical. This thing in your mind begins to take you away. And you feel pretty good, but you're still right here. And you're conjuring up this whole story, or your mind is for you, and you're following it. You're having a conversation with something other than you, something other than your small self, let's say. It's taking you away from the present moment. Because what's really happening is you're sitting in a room. You're sitting in a living room and there's a fan and there's some lights and you can maybe hear your neighbors. You can hear someone in the other room. If you have an animal, if you have a dog, maybe you can kind of hear them lightly breathing, walking. What's really right here, there is a superpower. When you train your mind, when you train your conscious awareness, your conscious perception to continually return back to what's really going on, the mind can no longer take you away from what's really here. As much as if you're at all creative, if you're a good creative thinker, you'll find that creativity happens both negatively and positively. Sometimes you'll find yourself, as much as this great mind of yours can think of the best poetry and it can draw all these things and it has all these connections that it makes and it can explain these philosophical concepts and all this cool stuff. It also, in times of pain and turmoil and fear, that creative mind can work against you to create much more terrible scenarios than are actually happening right here. You can catastrophize, you can overly fantasize and create all these scenarios that aren't actually here. You can make up all of these potential bad things that could happen. On the other side, you can make up all these potential good things that could happen to you. But listen, neither of them are here. Neither of them are really here. It's okay to think about the future. It's okay to readjust our view of the past. But what we really need to practice is being right here. Right here. Right here, when we practice being right here in our meditation, we're following the breath. When a thought comes up, it's not right here. What is that thought trying to do? The thought is trying to carry your attention away elsewhere. Now, it's not a bad thing, but it's what's going on when we're in modes of panic in our real life, when we have anxiety, when we're uneasy, when we're fearful, when we're scared, when we're not dealing with what's only right here. We are susceptible to being carried away to the mind's will. And again, we're not trying to shut that off. We're not trying to stop that. Good luck. You never can. But we're trying to lessen the energy that we give it. We're trying to cut off a bit of the power to the thinking mind. And again, if you love that if you love going off and talking to source, and you love having downloads, and you love getting locked into those places of stillness, please carry on. That sounds so cool. That sounds really awesome. But you're also a human. You're also right here. You also got to take out the garbage. You got to do the dishes. You got to pay the bills. And you got to deal with difficult people. You got to deal with yourself being difficult. You got to deal with pain, self-loathing, self-berating, the opposite, being overly confident, being overly egotistical. It's not about one being good and one being bad, or we need more of this and less of this. There's power in mindfulness meditation. There's power in placing your attention on nothing but the breath, something that's consistently, constantly happening without our input. In, out. What is it that I notice? Oh, I can hear my neighbor. What are they listening to? Oh, yeah, I know that song. I love that song. First time I heard that song. Oh, thought, thinking. Anyway, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. I'm worth so much more. I can feel tingly. I think I might have superpowers. I am all powerful. I'm going to accomplish all these things. The world will be a better place if I share this information with them. I got the golden egg, the golden nugget of truth. I'm accessing it right now. I have access to God himself. I can't wait to tell everybody. Oh, thinking. Return to the breath. So to reiterate, when you sit down to meditate, and within a few minutes, say you become incredibly still. That's great. You become incredibly still because you're having a conversation. You're having a back and forth. You're having a chat. You're having words exchanged. You're having visual representations exchanged. You're having feelings that you're acting on and adding more feelings. When all of this starts happening, it's not bad. You don't punch it away, but you just say, that's thinking. In return, you were breathing the whole time. I think that of all the meditations that I've done, I've been meditating for a while, 7 years or so. And I love trying new meditations. All sorts of guided meditations, different types. I've got all these books that have gone really deep. It's like steam entry and all these stream entry. The core meditation practice that is the most useful, so the core Buddhist practice is mindfulness meditation. They've been practicing it for 2,500 years. There's been people who have, of all the things we've explored with our minds, we continually return back to, as a species, mindfulness meditation. There is proof in the pudding. It makes being a human, so the areas where, when you're not in the safety of your room or living room, and you're having these wonderful, good feeling conversations with something larger than you, when you're not in those instances, mindfulness meditation has given you a tool that is irreplaceable. The tool of your attention, the tool of your focus, the tool of being able to realize that you were thinking and return back to the present moment, return back to what you really want, return back to what are your goals, what are your aspirations, who do you want to be, who do you want to show up as for the people around you. Your mind's not always on your side. Sometimes it's just your mind, your body, it's just searching for comfort. It's just trying to feel good right now. And it takes a little bit of life experience to look back and go, man, trying to feel as good as I can isn't actually the goal. I'm not just trying to feel happy and great and chill all the time. I'm actually trying to experience life as it really is. I'm trying to feel what I'm actually feeling. I'm not trying to reject anything that I'm actually feeling. I'm not trying to pretend it's not there. When I have a bad feeling come up, I'm not trying to go, whoa, we don't want that. Let's change it into a good feeling. Let's not think that bad feeling. That's a thought. Get away. Bad feeling. That's not what we're trying to do. So a successful meditation, say you sit down for 20 minutes, mindfulness meditation. If you see on the outside, you're watching someone sit down for the 20-minute meditation, a good meditation would be, they didn't move, they were completely still, right? Wrong. That's not the sign of a good meditation. We're humans, we're householders. We're not monks sitting in caves. Maybe if we watched, guys in orange robes who have been practicing this for years and years and 8 to 10 hours a day, maybe they're going to be pretty stinking still, but that's not your life. That's not your experience. Your experience is being a human who has a job and you pay bills. You sleep, 6 to 8 hours a night, and sugar tastes really good, and you try your best to not eat too much of it, and you have your weed or your booze or your caffeine or your social media or your reality TV, whatever it is. You have your addictions. You have your arguments with your family. You have your loving moments, your moments of gratitude with your family, your friends. You need to admit to yourself what your life really consists of sometimes. As much as, imagine if every time I did mushrooms, I took psilocybin mushrooms, I had a conversation with God. I connected with God, and I felt that was the most right thing ever. This is the truth. None of this stuff out here matters. Paying my bills when I could talk to God? What are you talking about? But you're still here. When I'm not on mushrooms, what do I have? Real life. And maybe I'm like, I gotta get back to more mushrooms so I can talk to God again. And that's everything. Well, what am I gonna do? Not live my life and just turn into a mushroom? I gotta pay my bills. How long could that really last? How long could it really last us just trying to feel good, trying to be positive, trying to have only good feelings, trying to get only good answers, positive answers? At some point you have to, even if you are receiving what you would consider answers or downloads or things that are net good for your life, you could hear some certain things that we'll hear in meditation, and it's like, wow, that's pretty profound, that's pretty powerful. It's still good stuff. But how do those moments help you when you're stressed, when you're upset, when, like I said, you get the call, you're at work, you got to go pick up your kid from daycare, whatever your version of that is? How does the downloads from your higher self help you in those moments? And meditation isn't just to make the bad moments not so bad. It's to really, really be with what's going on. It's to make the good moments actually good. It's to not miss out on genuine human experience. It's to notice that when the wind blows, the trees lightly rustle. And that's where life is. Life is not in thinking about trees moving. It's in noticing that the trees are moving when the wind blows. So continue your practice. Whatever you've been doing that feels good, when you sit down to meditate and you have connection to your higher self, it feels good. Maybe you get full body chills. Maybe you're experiencing some kundalini energies. Regardless of what you're experiencing, you could benefit from mindfulness meditation. You don't have to stop all that other stuff, but I think you will even more deeply understand and maybe it'll even enhance your experience with your higher self when you go into these moments of stillness and you're communing with Source. Mindfulness meditation will make even that much more juicy, because you'll see what's really going on. And you'll see ways that you can take that and enjoy that and accept it for what it really is. But it doesn't try to change anything about your real life. It doesn't make it to where when you're not having those communions with Source, where you feel sad or less than, or that you're lacking. So, have both practices. That's my overall answer to your question. You're not doing anything wrong, but you should also practice mindfulness meditation. And that is a firm, a strict, and a consistent following of the breath for a certain amount of time each day if you can get it. Even if you only do it a few times, maybe you continue your other meditations, the ones that you enjoy. Maybe you do those 3 times a week, and you do mindfulness meditation 2 times a week, and five times a week. Whatever it is that you can get, just trust me, try a little mindfulness meditation as well. And even in those moments where it's like, dude, this is the most profound thought, this is the answer to all of life. Terrence McKenna used to talk about when they would do DMT, it feels like you get this magical egg from these magical elves, and the egg is a golden egg of the answer to life. It's the answer to, like, the answer, right? Like whatever your mind thinks of, like the answer to what, like it's that. And then you have this egg, and then as you leave the DMT realm and you land back in your body, essentially, like you kind of like, land back in the physical room that you're in, you are just trying to put this golden egg into words, but the egg's like disintegrating and the egg is dissolving. And by the time you kind of snap out of it, you're like, what? Oh yeah, what was the egg? And and you're trying to explain it into words, and words mean nothing as compared to the answer to life itself of this golden egg. And suddenly you're here again. That's what Terrence McKenna would talk about, kind of the DMT experience. And I think it's a good exaggeration of kind of the whole spiritual experience, because we sit with ourselves and we slow the momentum of all of this, of all of life. And there's an answer. There's a silence. There is a voice. There's an intuition. There's something that remains. And we don't take it with us and try to jam the golden egg into every single moment. It's as we study what's really going on, we study our golden egg, we sit with our breath, we sit with our mind, we study how our mind really works. And then in other areas of our life, we don't try to bring the golden egg to it, but we've sat with the golden egg enough that we can't be fooled. We can't be tricked by our own minds, by other people's minds, by other people's readings and writings. We just access the truth. The practice time that we spend with the golden egg, with the answer to everything, with just right here, in and out, just following the breath. It's just this. My attention is just on breathing in and breathing out. It reminds us in other moments of our life, in our day-to-day life, that is really what's going on. Is we're just breathing in and breathing out, and there's this whole experience, and we might think we can grab onto it, good or bad, or prolong the good or negate the bad, but it's all really just happening. And if we could train ourselves to allow whatever is happening to just happen without our input, without us trying to solve anything or hold on to anything or dispar with anything, it's all a net good. mindfulness meditation. Sit down, place your attention on breathing, and when you notice, as you will, that you've been thinking of anything other than just following your breath, any thought that's carried you away, anything that you need to be doing, any critiques about yourself, any judgments about what you feel, anything at all that's not the breath, simply return to following the breath. And when the timer goes off, when you've done your time, here you are. What's really happening? Hope that helped.